Hello and welcome to Tech24 with me, Rebecca Bowring. Coming up in the programme, can Paris rival Silicon Valley for entrepreneurship? And what happens when 200 brilliant young minds converge in one room? We lift the lid on startup accelerators. And wear your world on your sleeve, keep in time with calls, emails and social networks with Sony's smartwatch for Android. Paris, city of light, city of love, city of entrepreneurship. Well, it might not be the first place in the world that you think of when it comes to starting a business, but in fact, Paris is third ahead of London in terms of early stage investments, and Google's just unveiled a €100 million research centre here. So what are the city's chances of becoming Europe's #1 haven for entrepreneurs? My guest this week is Rand Hindi. Thanks very much for being with us on the programme. Now, you're an entrepreneur yourself, and you're also a fixture on the tech startup scene here in Paris. You helped to develop fledgling businesses, and you invited Tech24 recently on what you called a geek tour of Paris. What was that about?
Well, the idea was to show to everyone that Paris is becoming a hotspot for technology entrepreneurship and to start creating connections between us locally and people from abroad. So we decided to create this geek tour to get high-profile people to Paris and show them that we're really, really good.
And hoping that they will then invest.
Absolutely, that they will invest and start, doing business with us.
And you took us to some of the prime locations for startups around Paris, including one called Le Camping, and it's a startup accelerator. What does that mean?
Well, a startup accelerator comes in at a later stage in incubators. So they take teams with an existing project they're trying to get from the initial, idea stage to an actual product on the market, and they help them accelerate so that they can quickly test their hypothesis and get user feedback.
So it's a sort of mentorship program, and we saw lots of young people working on various projects. One, for instance, was One Feet, which was a website that encourages you to challenge yourself, doesn't it, and to turn your life into a game. That was a particularly fun one that we saw. And the idea is that under this program, startups then thrive. And if you look and see how many of them are operating at the moment, it does seem like Paris has a burgeoning startup scene. But at the same time, France is a country where 70% of young people coming out of school say they want to be public servants because it's safe. There's a bit of a risk-averse culture.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I think the problem is that they don't know what their options are. So traditionally, people in France have been trained to enter industrial companies. Right now, we have this new ecosystem for startups, which is really attractive for engineers, but they don't know about it. So part of what we're trying to do with the Geek Tour is also show all students that they can start a company instead of going to work for a bigger one.
And what does France have in terms of resources that maybe other countries don't, which make it a good place to start a business?
Well, contrary to what people think, we have one of the best fiscal systems for startups. So if if you look beyond the very common way of starting a company, if you're a technology startup, you can actually have 100% tax rebates. You can have a lot of government subsidies, and there is quite a lot of early stage funds starting in Paris. But more importantly, you have access to a lot of technical resources, something which is very rare even in the United States.
Let's talk about something else you do. You're the Paris ambassador for Sandbox. That's a global community for innovators aged under 30. They do all kinds of cool things, for instance, harnessing obsolete satellites to provide free internet in Africa. I love that one. Or using robotics to get girls interested in engineering. And recently I went along to their Lisbon summit. So let's take a look. Sandbox, a place where things are built. Social entrepreneurs, web designers, inventors, these young people are already bringing change, and they're full of potential to make a global impact. Through workshops, the aim is to equip them to become role models in their fields. It's also the chance to give nascent projects a talent boost. The organisers call it accelerated serendipity.
We want individuals to be part of a bigger community, of a bigger group. So what we try to facilitate is that people feel to be part of a family of extraordinary friends who come together, who share their ideas, their dreams, their passions, and who grow together and are part of their journeys.
Journeys that are often impossible to define. Sandbox offers peer-to-peer mentorship for startups striking out into the unknown.
What I really get out of Sandbox is the fact of knowing that I'm not alone in following some unconventional professional steps. I can ask questions, I can get support, I can get advice, I can get contacts from people that not only have been where I am, but who are where I am.
As well as via a thriving online community, Sandboxers meet regularly at summits, dinners or on stopovers in 45 countries. Gamal has come to Lisbon from Egypt.
you'll find wonderful ideas. I try here to grab as much of info as I can and try to give it away to everybody I know in Cairo.
And it's the process of sharing that forges relationships that go the distance. Now, there are lots of networking opportunities out there for Generation Y, these young people. What's different about Sandbox, especially for the tech entrepreneurs?
Well, Sandbox is a community of people who not only try to work together, but also become friends. So the idea is that if in 30 years we're all leading our industry, what happens if we know each other for the last 20 years? The whole idea is to create a community of people who are very talented, but also get very close to each other and share a common vision, which is to use technology in order to impact society in a positive way.
A real capacity for change. Thanks for that. Stay with us. Test 24 is next. From TV to cars, smart is a hot trend for 2012. Sony launched its smartwatch for Android at this year's CES. Social networks, calls, texts, GPS are all accessible, James Bond style, but is it a smart buy? My question to you, Hindi.
Well, yes, I think it's actually quite fun. So the watch works very simply. You connect it to your Android phone, and you're then able to access everything directly using a touchscreen. So you can swipe it here.
What kind of stuff can you access, though? You can check your Facebook status, or
exactly, or you can access
Twitter?
your calendar. Well, in that case, I don't have much to do today.
You can send text messages?
Yeah, you can send text messages, and you can also control the camera that's on your phone directly.
Oh, that's quite cool. So you can see me there.
Exactly. So you see, I can actually film anything with the smartphone.
But
and
why,
it shows on the
though?
watch.
Why would you want to do that? What's the use of this gadget?
I'm honestly not sure, but I'm sure you can think of plenty of fun stuff to do with it.
Is that all it is, though? Is it just something fun, or is it actually something useful that you would maybe wear? Would you wear it?
Yeah, I guess I would wear it, but to be honest, I don't really like the design. I think it's a bit too simplistic. So there is an idea. I mean, everyone dreamed of a James Bond watch. I just think it's not styled enough.
But you can change the strap, fortunately, because it's
absolutely.
Plastic.
Let's try with another
monstrosity,
one.
I have to say. It's $149, about 120 euros, and it comes out in April. So, in a word, I'm not sure if you would go with the black or the white with your particular outfit. Would you buy it?
I would consider buying it.
Okay. So that's a sort of half and half.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for coming in to speak to us, Hindi.
Welcome.
Thank you to you for watching this edition of Tech 24. Also to Jen Carswell and the What Took You So Long film company for their help making the programme. That's it for this edition. Check us out, of course, on the social network. You've got our address coming up on the screen there. And to learn more about Sandbox, the address is sandbox-network.com. Now, do you squirm when somebody's mobile phone goes off in a concert or a play, and it's so much worse for the performer on stage? It's a good thing that Slovakian violinist Lukas Kmit has a sense of humour. He managed to integrate Nokia's iconic ringtone into his performance. See you again next week.